and welcome back. So today we're talking about a case that I have had researched and ready to go for a while, and I'm very excited to be able to tell you about their story. Today we're talking about the case of Zulma Pabon. Zulma Pabon, I believe is how you pronounce her last name. I'm not entirely sure, so I apologize. I had seen her name floating around on Uncovered for a while, which is a website I use to help me find cases. And I had researched her case, and then I lost basically all the videos I had pre-filmed, all the notes. It was a whole thing. I think I've explained it in videos a few weeks ago. And so this was a case that I've had to research. And hopefully, if you're hearing this, I finally have been able to put this video, and I'm very happy. But with that being said, all the links I used to research will be down below like always, and let's get into this. So 26-year-old Zulma is described as strong, independent, and loving, and who was someone who was a great mother and an amazing person overall. Zulma was a nurse at Commonwealth Fertility and Women's Health at Bon Secours St. Francis Medical Center in Virginia. Zulma was last seen alive on Friday evening of June 6, 2014. When she didn't show to work, her coworkers were the ones that actually reported her missing the following Monday. At 9:30 p.m. the night she went missing, Zulma sent a text to a friend canceling plans that they had to meet up. At 6:25 a.m. the next morning, her white four-door 2009 Nissan Altima with the Virginia license plate number JZN1429 was seen driving away from her townhouse in the 5300 block of Terrace Arbor Circle. 14 minutes later, surveillance video showed John E. Gibbs II, her live-in boyfriend and the father of her 4-year-old son, walking up to their home alone. About 12 hours later, a white late model truck and trailer picked up her car and hauled it away from where it had been parked near her home. Her car wasn't found until June 16th. It had turned up in the Greenlee Mobile Home Park and the 1400 block of Drumvale Drive off Jeff Davis Highway, 16 miles from her home. There was no sign of her there. She didn't know anyone in that area and had no reason to go there, but surveillance captured images of a white, newer model 4-door truck towing a white 4-door vehicle, possibly hers, on Commonwealth Center Parkway at 6:15 p.m. on June 7th. So police said that John E. Gibbs wasn't cooperative in their investigation. There was no reported history of domestic violence in the relationship. However, Zulma apparently told a friend that she felt unsafe in their home, and she was going to leave John in July and move into her own apartment with their son. Police stated that they'd placed him under surveillance after Zulma disappeared, and they said that they witnessed him driving to a construction site in the woods Edge Road off Interstate 95 the day after her car was found. So he left a bag there, which police retrieved. It contained a sheet, a blanket, and a Comcast remote control. A cadaver dog indicated the scent of human remains on the comforter. Less than 2 weeks after she vanished, John Gibbs made an unscheduled trip to Flagstaff, Arizona. When he returned on June 29th, he bought a 64-gallon trash can, muriatic acid, and 23 bottles of drain cleaner. Police got a warrant to search his computer and learned he'd searched online for how to drug someone with ether. With ether or ether? I think it's pronounced ether, but I'm not quite sure. Thankfully, John Gibbs was arrested and charged with her murder in 2018. The defense attempted to present a narrative that Zulma was depressed and a party animal, drinking so heavily that she urinated on herself. I don't know why they would even try to use that as a defense. That is so gross. So this was nearly 4 years later, and her body still hadn't been found. And the defense said that she was never found because she was abducted by MS-13 gang members or that she died from self-inflicted injuries and was never found. That is so gross that you're saying that she committed suicide as a reason for her never being found. That is just so low. It really shocked me that they would try to say, well, it's because she did it herself. It's so gross. So the Commonwealth presented largely circumstantial evidence that revealed a strain between Zulma and John, and multiple people testified in his trial that he acted unusually in the days after Zulma was gone. He didn't express grief, he didn't give much details to family, and gave no notice when he went on the 10-day trip to Arizona. His sister, who says that she's very close to him and speaks to him often, stated that he never mentioned that Zulma was missing to her. The jury decided that he was guilty and they sentenced him to 50 years with no fine. They were told to consider life in prison and life in prison with a fine and at least 20 years in prison or at least 20 years in prison plus a fine. And he still, to this day, maintains his innocence. In the time before he was sentenced for her murder, in February 2016, he was actually charged with felony child neglect after he left their 5-year-old son home alone on several occasions. Their son started to have behavioral problems at school, and John was caught striking him in the parking lot of the school. John was sentenced to 5 years in prison for neglect with 4.5 years suspended, and to this day, Zulma's body still has not been found. And that is where this case ends. So, I don't know if you're thinking what I'm thinking, but he bought a 64-gallon trash can, muriatic acid, drain cleaner. This feels like, to me, he killed her in some way. So, what he originally threw away was a sheet, a blanket, or a comforter, and a Comcast remote. I feel like maybe... I don't know if a Comcast remote is strong enough to strike someone with. Maybe she was on their bed. I don't know how he could have killed her. He killed her in some way. Maybe there was blood on the Comcast remote or something. Or whatever was on the sheets. He threw those away, obviously. And then I think that he disposed of her body by putting it in the acid and putting it in the trash can. And that's why her body hasn't been found, because he basically dissolved her body. That is what my mind went to when I heard that he got acid in a trash can. And then drain cleaner, maybe he tried to, clean stuff off in the tub or something. And cops, when they actually want to do their jobs and they're searching for stuff, they will search drains. They will see if there's blood in there. And maybe he wanted to try to, clean the drains, of any blood or anything that could have been on whatever he was trying to clean. I don't know if there was blood or anything on those sheets or anything that looked like blood. All we know is that cadaver dogs detected human remains on that comforter. So it kind of sounds like maybe he assaulted her while she was in bed or whatever, and then he disposed of her that way. I don't know what the 10-day trip was about. I don't know if it was to try to give himself an alibi. I really don't know. Maybe it was to try to appear like he wasn't in the area at the time. I'm just not entirely sure what that was about. I'm actually really confused. Let me know your thoughts about that down below. But what do you think happened to Zulma? Do you think that he did to her what I kind of expressed to you? Do you think it was some other way? Let me know your thoughts down below. Like always, thank you so much for listening to Zulma's story. It's absolutely heartbreaking that their child has to go without their mother and now their father. And it's just so sad for Zulma, her family, and her son. Thank you so much for listening to her story, and I will see you guys very soon. Bye, guys.